Why do you believe that chasing someone will make them love you more? Think about it. Every time you run after her, every time you try to prove your worth with desperate effort, what you are really showing is fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of being alone. Fear that you are not enough without her validation. And that fear speaks louder than your words, louder than your actions, louder than any promises you could ever make. It tells her that your value depends on her acceptance, and nothing kills attraction faster than desperation disguised as devotion. Deep down, you already feel the weight of this cycle, the late nights wondering why she pulls away, the anxious checking of your phone, waiting for her reply, the restless thoughts that ask, what if she never chooses me? These thoughts drain your energy, weaken your focus, and make you believe the lie that love must be earned through pursuit. But the truth is different. Real connection is never born from running after someone. It is born from standing still in your own strength and letting them see who you truly are without forcing them to notice. Chasing feels powerful in the moment because it tricks your mind into believing you are in control. But the more you chase, the less control you actually have. You hand over your peace, your confidence, and your dignity in exchange for the hope that she might one day give you attention. This imbalance creates a silent message: my life is incomplete without you. That message doesn't inspire love, it inspires distance. And the harder you try to close that distance, the wider it grows. What if, instead of chasing, you stopped? What if you chose to see your own value without begging for recognition? Imagine the calm that comes from no longer living in fear of her rejection. Imagine the strength that rises when you no longer measure your worth by how quickly she replies to a text. When you stop chasing, you no longer live in reaction to her choices. You begin to live in alignment with your own. That is where respect is born. That is where attraction begins. You are not here to beg for attention. You are here to embody presence. Presence is quiet, steady, and unshakable. It does not need to prove itself. It does not need to run after anyone. Presence allows her to see you for who you are, not for how desperately you try to be seen. When you stop chasing, you allow curiosity to grow. You give her space to wonder. And that wonder is far more powerful than any chase. Stay with me, because this is only the beginning. If you truly want to understand what she is thinking when you no longer run after her, if you want to see how power shifts the moment you stand in your own worth, then you need to hear this all the way through. The reward for letting go of the chase is not just her attention, it is your transformation. Respect is the language that speaks louder than any words you could ever say. When you stop running after her, what you give her is not silence born of anger, but silence born of strength. It is a silence that says, I know who I am, and I do not need to beg for what I deserve. That kind of silence carries more weight than 1,000 empty promises. It is not coldness, it is clarity, and clarity always commands attention. Human nature responds to confidence the way a flame responds to oxygen. It grows. When you hold your ground, when you refuse to compromise your dignity, you show her a reflection of something rare. You show her a man who is not driven by fear but by self-respect. And that self-respect is magnetic. It pulls without chasing. It attracts without pleading. It creates space for genuine connection rather than a fragile bond held together by anxiety and desperation. Respect changes everything because it shifts the balance of power. Not the power over her, but the power over yourself. Most men lose themselves because they forget this truth. The person who respects themselves first is the one who earns respect from others. If you cannot honor your own boundaries, if you cannot value your own worth, how can you expect her to? Attraction begins when she sees that you do not need her approval to feel complete. That is when curiosity awakens. That is when she looks at you differently. Think of the energy you have wasted in pursuit. The restless thoughts, the doubts, the constant attempts to prove something that never needed proof. Now imagine redirecting that same energy into building yourself, into becoming sharper, calmer, more focused, into living in a way that makes your presence undeniable. That shift is powerful because instead of shouting, you become the kind of man whose silence speaks for him. Respect turns your very existence into a statement of strength. Do not underestimate the power of pulling back. It is not a game. It is not manipulation. It is the purest form of truth. You are saying without words that your life is not dependent on her choices. You are saying that your purpose is bigger than chasing love that runs away. And that realization is liberating. It frees you from the endless cycle of trying to earn what should flow naturally. Respect for yourself creates respect from others, and that is the foundation of everything lasting. When you embody this truth, she feels it. She senses the shift even if you never say a word. Your silence becomes a mirror, showing her the difference between neediness and strength. That is why respect is more powerful than any chase. It does not demand, it invites, it does not plead, it inspires. And when you choose this path, you no longer wait for her to recognize your worth. You live in a way that makes it impossible to ignore. When you stop chasing, something begins to shift inside her mind. The certainty she once felt about your attention starts to fade, and in its place grows a new awareness. She begins to wonder why the energy that was once always directed at her is no longer there. Curiosity replaces comfort, doubt replaces certainty, and in that quiet uncertainty, her perception of you changes. What was once predictable now feels unknown, and the human mind cannot ignore what feels uncertain. It pulls her thoughts toward you, not because you asked for it, but because you stepped back and allowed her to feel the absence of your pursuit. This is the power of scarcity. When something is always available, it loses its value. When something is withdrawn, even slightly, its importance rises. By no longer chasing, you create space for her to see your worth through a new lens. It is not about punishing her. It is not about playing games. It is about allowing reality to speak. You are not defined by her acceptance, and your energy is not something to be taken for granted. That realization forces her to reevaluate what she thought she knew about you. In her mind, questions start to form. Why has he stopped running after me? What has changed? Did he finally realize his value? That uncertainty awakens attention. It stirs emotions that might have been hidden under layers of comfort and control. She begins to look at you differently, not because you changed your words, but because you changed your stance. And in psychology, this is one of the deepest triggers of attraction, the sudden awareness that someone you once overlooked is no longer within your grasp. What makes this shift so powerful is that it is not forced. You are not trying to manipulate. You are simply choosing yourself over the endless cycle of proving your worth. That decision communicates strength more clearly than anything you could ever say. It shows that you are not afraid of walking away if respect is not given. It shows that your life is full with or without her, and that independence is rare. That independence is magnetic. Understand this, when you no longer chase, you invite her to step toward you of her own will. You allow attraction to grow naturally, fueled by her curiosity, her desire, and her recognition of your value. And even if she does not step closer, you have already won, because you have broken free from the chains of needing approval. You no longer live in reaction to her choices. You live in alignment with your own strength. This is the moment she begins to think differently. This is the moment she sees that you are not the man who begs. You are the man who knows. And once that shift is made, everything about how she views you begins to transform. Strength does not come from proving yourself to someone else. Strength comes from building a life that speaks for you. When you stop chasing, you create room to rise into the man who cannot be ignored. Not because you shout the loudest, not because you demand attention, but because your growth, your focus, and your presence make you impossible to overlook. Attraction is not about constant pursuit. It is about becoming the kind of person whose energy draws others in without effort. Women are drawn to men who stand firm in their vision. A man who is disciplined in his habits, clear in his goals, and calm in his energy sends a signal that he does not need approval to feel powerful. This is not arrogance, it is grounded confidence. It is the kind of confidence that comes from knowing your worth, even when no one is watching. And that confidence cannot be faked because it is built in the silence of your daily choices. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you put effort into your growth, you strengthen the foundation that makes you magnetic. The truth is that chasing often hides the absence of self-work. It is easier to run after someone else than it is to face the work of improving yourself. But the moment you redirect that energy inward, everything changes. You begin to carry yourself differently. Your posture shifts, your words carry weight, and your presence feels solid. A man who knows his path does not beg for attention. He attracts it naturally because people are drawn to stability in a world full of chaos. When you build yourself, You no longer wonder if she will choose you. Instead, you realize that you are the one who chooses. You choose how to live. You choose who is worthy of your time. You choose where your energy flows. That shift is powerful because it places you back in control of your life. No longer waiting, no longer chasing, no longer doubting. You become the kind of man who leads, and leadership is one of the strongest forces of attraction that exists. This is what makes you unforgettable. Not the desperate pursuit, not the endless attention, but the unshakable presence of a man who is secure in himself. She cannot ignore it because it is rare. She cannot dismiss it because it is undeniable. When you stop chasing and start building, you transform from someone seeking validation into someone radiating certainty, and that certainty is irresistible. Never forget that your value is not in how much you can prove yourself to someone else. Your value is in who you become when you focus on growth, discipline, and vision. That is the man she cannot ignore. That is the man who never has to chase because his presence is enough. Walking away is not weakness. Walking away is the ultimate act of strength. It is the decision to protect your dignity, to guard your peace, and to stand firm in the truth that your life is not measured by someone else's attention. Too many men believe that staying, no matter the cost, is a sign of loyalty, but loyalty without respect is slavery to your own fear. Real power begins the moment you say, I will not chase what does not honor me. That choice shifts everything inside you because it is the moment you finally choose yourself. The human mind rewires itself through action. Every time you walk away from what drains you, you teach your brain that you are worthy of more. You silence the voice of desperation and awaken the voice of confidence. You step out of the role of a man begging to be noticed and into the role of a man who knows his value without needing permission. That shift creates freedom, and freedom is the soil where true strength grows. Letting go does not mean you have given up. It means you refuse to lose yourself in the process of holding on. It means you recognize that respect is the foundation of love, and without it, nothing you build will stand. Walking away communicates that you will not settle for a connection built on imbalance. It sends the clearest message possible. My worth is not up for negotiation. And when you live with that standard, life rewards you with deeper relationships, stronger opportunities, and a level of peace you never had while chasing. Understand this clearly. Walking away is not about her. It's about you. It's about reclaiming the energy you poured into fear and redirecting it into growth. It's about building a life so powerful, so full, that love becomes a natural addition, not a desperate pursuit. The man who walks away does not close the door on love. He opens the door to a higher version of himself, and that version is unshakable. That version does not need to beg, because he radiates worth with every step he takes. When you embody this truth, you become untouchable. You no longer fear rejection, because rejection cannot shake a man who stands rooted in his own strength. You no longer fear being alone, because solitude becomes the place where you sharpen your vision and grow your spirit. Walking away gives you back control. It gives you back your fire. It gives you back the life that chasing stole from you. So choose power over desperation. Choose strength over fear. Choose to walk away when respect is absent. And let that decision shape the man you become. Because when you walk away into your own purpose, you never truly lose. You rise. You have reached the point where everything is clear. Chasing was never the answer. Pleading was never the solution. Waiting for her approval was never the path to your freedom. The answer was always within you, hidden beneath fear, buried under doubt, waiting for the moment you finally decided to take your power back. That moment is now. This is where you stop living in reaction to her choices and start living in alignment with your purpose. This is where you stop asking what she thinks and start deciding who you will become. Your worth was never meant to be measured by another person's acceptance. Your value is not tied to whether she stays or walks away. You are enough as you are, and when you build on that truth, you unlock a level of strength that cannot be taken from you. A man who knows his worth does not chase. He creates, he grows, he builds, he leads. And when you live this way, the world responds. Respect follows you, opportunities find you, love flows toward you naturally, without the exhausting games of pursuit. There is no freedom in chasing. Freedom is in letting go, in walking tall, in choosing yourself first. And the beauty of choosing yourself is that it changes everything around you. When you embody confidence, people feel it. When you live with discipline, others respect it. When you carry purpose, doors open that once seemed locked. This is the transformation you gain when you stop begging for love and start living in your strength. The truth is that she will notice. She will sense the difference. The absence of your chase creates presence. It creates space for her to see you without the cloud of desperation covering your light. But whether she returns or not is no longer the point. The point is that you are no longer defined by it. You are free, free to live for something higher than attention, free to rise into the man you were always meant to be. Every step you take away from chasing is a step into clarity. Every time you choose respect over desperation, you strengthen the foundation of your future. Every time you refuse to settle for less than you deserve, you become more powerful than the man you were yesterday. This is not about her anymore. This is about the life you build, the peace you protect, the purpose you follow. So walk forward with confidence. Walk forward with strength. Walk forward knowing that the man who no longer chases is the man who leads, the man who attracts, the man who inspires. Stop running after what was never meant to be forced. Stand in your worth and let everything else align. Because once you stop chasing, you finally see the truth. The only approval you ever needed was your own.